Hey y'all, welcome to the ANOMALOUS podcast, where we have conversations around the nuances of living a life with God as our guide. If you're in the process of evolving or transforming and are just looking for some practical help with the process, then you're in the right place. We're all trying to figure it out. I am your host, Tia McGee, and I am so excited that you're joining me here today. Today, I want to talk about taking care, right? It's a term, like a phrase that we hear all the time, that we toss around all the time, but really breaking down what taking care could really look like in real life. Like, are we taking care of ourselves? Right? Like, we first got to be good. We first got to be straight. Like, we first got to be rested. We first got to, this has got to be taken care of. And when we take care of this, then the things that are connected to us, right? Like, not only can we enjoy them more, not only can we show up better for them, but they then are more successful because we, the vessel, or, that it's coming from, right, is in a good place, and we can just produce better things, right? We can create better things. Like, we are more clear-minded, right, when we are taken care of, So am I taking this stewardship thing serious enough to where I am implementing disciplines and habits that will help me to be healthy, that will help me to have the energy, that will help me to have the stamina, that will help me to have the patience, that will help me to thrive, that will help me to be creative? Am I creating like an environment or a space that breeds, creativity, that breeds love, that breeds, connection and those type of things, right? Am I implementing those things? Am I feeding and consuming? Am I feeding myself the things and consuming the things that will help me to be energized and to feel am I doing those things? And am I also making sure that I step away from things that are not as helpful, that don't breed those things, that don't help me to be energized, that don't help me to show up in a way that I want to, or help me to feel the ways that I want to feel, that help me to create the things that I want to create, And so essentially, this is a conversation around disciplines and habits and the way that we view those things and how helpful they really can be with the right perspective, right? And with the right set of disciplines and habits that are helpful for us, okay? Because another point is, I feel like there has been this, and I've felt it at times too, but this drive or this pull to begin incorporating things that we feel like we're supposed to because everyone else is doing it. And so not as much anymore, but remember like a year ago, the last 2 years, it's been like this really heavy like morning routine thing that's been going on social media, which is really like aesthetically pleasing and it's really like calming and all of that, right? But with those morning routines, it's like some of those things are absolutely great, right? Or their routine probably works perfect for them. But without the right connection to the routines, right? Like having a significant why, and without assessing, like, are these things that are actually helpful for the discipline that I need or for what I'm needing in my life, right? Just incorporating those things just based off of supposed tos aren't always as helpful as we want them to be, And so within that, just again, like, I want to encourage you within maybe reassessing the disciplines that you have, or maybe just incorporating, because this may be your first time where you're like, I've been knowing I'm supposed to, but I haven't been, really getting real sharp about what I need to be doing, how I need to start my days, implementing some things that will be helpful for me, helping me to navigate through the stress or whatever. But if you're in that process, right, thinking about some things that may be helpful for you. And at the beginning, it is helpful to borrow from other people. But in that process of borrowing and adopting, parts of other people's routines or things that they practice, it's helpful for you to get connected to why it's helpful for you or why you are implementing those specific things. And so I'm just going to give you some examples of things that are helpful for me and why they are helpful for me, so that maybe whenever you are in this process of figuring it out, or even rethinking and reassessing things for yourself, it may be helpful. Okay. So, for example, in the morning, I love silent time. Okay, I love me some silent time. And even when I'm getting started with my day, I like to go into worship music, right? Or I have like this soaking, like instrumental worship music that is extremely calming for me. Okay, and so as Christians, we know, or I felt like when I was younger, like worship music was like a plus, not a plus, like a must. That's what I meant. Worship music was like this thing that Christians like are supposed to do, right? But the more that I matured, it's like this reality of like worship in itself is for God, right? My worship to God is my way of loving on God, right? That's his love language. But then I also realized that whenever I get in the posture of worshiping, it is helpful for me. When I get in a posture of gratitude, it does something different to my spirit. It does something different for my mind. It does something different for my emotions. So when I'm caught up in all these other thoughts and these fears and these stressors of what the day may bring, or what I did or what I didn't do, or what's to come, or what I don't have, or all these different things, right? When I get into this posture of worship, when I start to sing to God and I thank God, it does something different and it starts to rework things, you know? And so even within worship and worship music, right, and hearing those words and being reminded to be grateful, and being reminded of, you know, like how amazing God is and all the ways that he's looking out for me, and that he's protecting me, and that he's my provider, and that he's my healer, and that he's all these different things, it's helpful for me, the soaking worship music and the calmness of it in the morning, as opposed to jumping right on social media, or jumping right into my emails, or blasting something else, or, you know, like watching the news or whatever it is, right? I found that is helpful for me. So that is something that I do. So I like to make sure when I'm setting my alarm, I set it 30 minutes earlier, because I like to lay in the bed and I like to spend 30 minutes at minimum silent time, thinking to God. I like to pray. I like to think about what I'm going to tackle and accomplish for that day. I like to finish, my thoughts and my dreams and let them kind of ride out. I like to allow my brain to just do its own like dreamy thing, and so that's something that's extremely helpful for me. And right after that, I like to, just give myself more of an opportunity to kind of calm and flow, so I'll reach for the soaking worship music. I'll go into some more prayer. I'll go into some worship music, really get in that posture, because that's helpful for me. Not just because I'm supposed to, or not just because other Christians on social media are doing it, or because I'm just supposed to do it, And so even in that same regard with church, or even with reading or with sermons, right? All of those to me are a gift to me. Right? Church isn't something that I just have to do. I know that when I walk up in that church house, when I walk up in Transformation Church, I can feel the Spirit of God. And it does something different for my body. That is a gift to me. You know what I'm saying? Being connected with the Holy Spirit is a gift to me. The sermon, the word, right, that he gives is a gift to me. It is teaching me. It is giving me perspective, right? It's edifying. It's helpful. It's correction, right? Maybe I was thinking in one way and it was corrected for me to improve help to mature me and improve my mind, improve my way of thinking, improve my way of navigating, so that I can steward what I've been given by God better. So I can show up in a way that I want to show up in this world, And again, like thinking about it, even just for educational purposes, because it is like going to school for me. When I go to church, the sermon is like going to class. And so even in that same regard with like reading, right? If I'm studying, not even just the Bible, but if I'm choosing to read in the mornings, right? Or read on a daily basis, that is something that I know that is helpful for me. One thing that I do value is growing, getting better, absorbing different perspectives, just giving myself an opportunity to take in more things that help me to be more helpful, that help me to be a better person, that help me to transform my mind, and different things. And so again, those are things that are helpful for me, and I have a why attached to it, not just because I'm supposed to, right? Another thing, like even physically, there's so many of us that see exercise or going to the gym as some sort of chore, which I understand that. I've been there. I've been there 1,000 times over. I was an athlete my entire life, and then for like 10 years, I didn't want nothing to do with no type of exercise, no type of nothing, because in my mind, in my relationship with it, it had been a chore, something that I like had to do, but the more that I have evolved in that way of thinking and realizing like, gosh, like, whenever I take off all that extraness that I had before and I just get in and I allow myself just to walk, right? Maybe just a little simple incline walk. Maybe I'm just doing some light weights. Maybe I'm doing some heavy weights because that's where I'm at. Maybe I'm cycling. Maybe I'm going to the park, or I'm trying a new activity. I didn't try Pilates, or, something else, like just getting my body moving, right? Really like caring physically about what my body needs. Same in that same regard, like rest. Okay, am I resting? Am I allowing myself to sleep a little bit longer because I can feel that I need to sleep a little bit longer? Right? Or am I allowing myself to Sabbath once a week like God wants us to? And like I want to for myself. Right? Like, am I giving myself one day out the week where I'm not doing anything work related and I am just connecting? I am connecting to myself. I am connecting to God, with God. Like, we're doing fun things together. We're being creative, or we're just laying around, like whatever, so am I physically, am I stewarding this whole thing right? And that, even in that, with that, like diet. Okay. So in terms of what I'm consuming with my temple, with my physical body, am I stewarding it well? Am I feeding it things that will help it to be energized, or am I just feeding it junk? And I just feel like I gotta tell myself right now, because I'm about to start a detox on Monday. I have a favorite one by Dr. Bobby Price, and I can link that in the description box. But I'm going to do a 14-day detox, because when I tell y'all, the last few months I have consumed so much junk, like so much vegan junk food. It is ridiculous. And I can tell like the state of my gut health is all over the place. And I can tell like my moodiness all over the place. My energy is so, like I know what it's like to be at the tippity top, when I'm eating and like eating really clean and consuming all the good fresh produce. Like I be feeling like I got superpowers, and so I'm not at the lowest of the low. I'm still, energized every day, but I know what it could be like. I know what the clarity is like whenever I am feeding my body really good things, right? Whenever I'm not consuming a bunch of junk, when I'm not consuming a bunch of processed foods, like I know how my body feels, how it functions, the sharpness of my mind, like how more balanced and grounded I feel emotionally and in my mood and those type of things, right? So physically, whether it's like activity or your diet, like are you stewarding yourself well? Because when I am moody, right? Like when I'm low on energy, whenever I'm not moving my body or allowing my body to rest whenever it needs to, like the way that I show up in the world is different. It affects the way that I show up. It affects the way that I show up when I'm creating. It affects the way that I show up in my relationship. It affects the way that even what I can produce, right? It affects my connection. It affects, I feel like y'all get the point. It affects everything, And so it's like just thinking about the ways that we are showing up in these different areas of our lives is connected to stewardship. It is bigger than what we just feel like in the moment or what's convenient in the moment. And I'm not saying that we necessarily need to strive for perfection, because what is that anyways? But just keeping these things in mind, I feel like it will help us to navigate differently. It will help us to shift our disciplines, right? Because it's like, all right, I know that consuming a bunch of processed foods, really, after a while, I start to get moody. I have less energy. I be feeling more fatigued, and I'm really experiencing some brain fog. But it's like on the other side of that, I have these projects, these things that I want to start. I know I have some meetings coming up. I have some bigger, I have these things coming up. I want to be sharp. I want to create some dope stuff. I want to have the energy to really follow through. I want to show up to these meetings as my vibrant self, so how is it that I need to steward these different areas of my life so that I am showing up in the way that I want to show up, so that I can steward other things well as well, And so, and I guess one last thing I want to add, because I feel like as adults, there are times when we don't do this as much. We get really caught up in like the work and what needs to be done and like the kids and the finances and all of that. And we don't really consider how much we need fun. And we need to give ourselves time to be creative and to let our hair down and to be childlike, And so, for instance, like for me, one of my favorite things to do is to road trip. I love to travel, but there's something special to me about road tripping. And I like to road trip, and I like to eat a bunch of vegan food on the way, and I like to spend silent time, and I like to joke with my friend. Most of the time it's Ruby Lee that I'm road tripping with, and I like to see different things, and I like the way that I feel in the process, and so it's just, there's these things that for me that are really fun, and I be feeling kind of corny sometimes, but even going downtown, like just walking around, finding different coffee shops, allowing myself to just go in those spaces, because when I'm in those spaces, I feel really creative. And especially if I don't have like a really strict agenda, and I just allow my mind to just run free, like I have so much fun with myself in these different spaces, And so just what I'm trying to say is encouraging you to, whatever fun is for you, make sure that we're prioritizing that. If Dallas is your spot, and there's these spots in Dallas that you like to go, and you have fun in those spots in Dallas, then I want to encourage you to map out time to hit them spots in Dallas and make sure you travel and go, and go do your thing, or whatever your thing is. If it's doodling on paper, or trying a new painting, whatever, or if it's just going to sit at your homeboy's house and play video games, or if it's going to the park and having a picnic, or just laying out, whatever it is, give yourself an opportunity to just have some fun, with no strings attached, because that within itself is so recharging. It is so recharging, and it's something that I feel like we make small of, and there are times when I can feel within myself, okay, we've been working, and I do enjoy the things that I'm creating and the things that I'm doing, but there are tons of strings attached at this point, And so it's what do we want to do to just have fun, to just let your hair down and just try something new, or just do something, or just, and prioritizing that has been extremely helpful for me, and it helps me to steward other things well when I recharge myself. Okay, and so for the homework that I want to send you guys off with, course, some reflective points. One being asking yourself, am I being intentional about caring for myself? Am I actually caring for myself? The ways that I care for other people, or for, it could be a list of things. But am I actually caring for myself in these different areas of life, right? So physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, am I caring for myself? Or could I be doing better? And if you agree that you could be doing better, okay, then we need to see if you have been prioritizing having disciplines and habits that help you to care for yourself, because that would be the next step, okay? And so if you are the type that already, I'm already on it, I got my disciplines, I got my habits, maybe there's a need for an audit, okay? If you're in the place where you're things are a little shaky, whatever, haven't been going as smooth or whatever, maybe your disciplines need an audit. Okay, or maybe you haven't been as consistent with them as you need to, right? So check on your consistency, audit your habits, see if they're actually helpful for you, or as helpful as you need them to be in this season of your life. Or maybe there's some shifts that need to take place. Maybe there are some things you need to add to the list, or maybe some things you need to switch out, or you need to tweak for the season that you're in, okay, and for the things that you're needing, all right? And if you are not, or you haven't been as intentional about implementing disciplines or habits that are helpful, I want to encourage you to start to think about, what are some areas in my life where I really could use some extra care? I really could use some helpful disciplines and habits, and then start to think about what that could look like. Right? And so the last part of homework is for those of us, especially that don't quite have daily disciplines, right? I want you to, for the next 2 weeks, I want you to come up with 3 disciplines, okay? 2 of them in which you will do daily, and 1 that you will do once a week for the next 2 weeks. Okay, so for example, let's say your 2 daily disciplines are, you're going to read 10 pages out of a book daily, and then the second one is you're going to walk for 10 minutes daily. Okay, and then the third discipline is something that you're going to do on a weekly basis. So that could be the next 2 weeks, I am going to choose one day out of the week to Sabbath, right? Like, I've been wanting to do it, but I always find myself working, and I'm so fearful to take a day off, right? So for the next 2 weeks, you actually Sabbath, right? Or you could do something fun, right? Like, get back to doing an activity or something fun that helps you to feel connected and helps you to feel alive. Something that you used to love to do, but you just kind of like got out of the habit of doing it, or something you've really been wanting to try, but just haven't gotten around to trying it yet, right? So for the next 2 weeks, you're going to do that. You're going to choose one day out of the week to do something for yourself that is fun, okay? And I want you to go all in with it, okay? And just give yourself 2 weeks, and then just see how you feel, right? If you find like, oh, actually, this was helpful. Oh, actually, I was a lot more patient, or I felt a lot more this or more that, or, like whatever. You'll be surprised, okay? But from this entire conversation, I really just want to encourage you guys, like, stewardship is important, right? We want to steward well. But in order for us to steward to our best capacity, we have to take care of ourselves. We have to take care of our minds. We have to take care of our bodies. We got to take care of our spirits. We got to feed it good stuff. We got to consume some things that will be helpful, that will help to energize us, that will help us to feel creative, to help us be, just to thrive, just to do the things and be the people. Okay? So let's focus on taking care of ourselves, for really caring for ourselves. Okay? Anyways, I'm really appreciative that you guys joined me here today. I hope that this was helpful as always. And I'm going to encourage you to like this post, to comment. If you have any questions, if you have any thoughts, I would love for you guys to comment and share. And I've found that it's really helpful. When we share a thought, it stems thoughts for someone else, or it even encourages them to share different things. Next thing you know, we up in there having a little combo. Yeah. So comment and then subscribe. If you found this helpful at all, I would love for you to subscribe and hit the notifications button so that you don't miss anything, and share it with a friend. If there's anything in this message that you feel like could be helpful for anyone that I would love for you to share it to your socials, or just send the direct link to somebody, and encourage them to watch it, because it could be helpful for them as well. Okay. Anyways, until next time, see you soon.